Hi there, folks. This is Mr. MegaManFan, and if you like what I do on this channel, please subscribe and leave a comment, and a thumbs up is always much appreciated as well. Today, we're going to be looking at a package from Limited Run Games. I'm going to open up this box and take out what's inside and play at least one of them before we're done. Don't have time for both, but I should have time for at least one in lieu of today's normally scheduled homebrew review. So I've been waiting for this one for about a year, which is getting to be the average for placing an order with Limited Run Games, thanks to all the cargo port snafu delays. But inside we have a pair of GameBoy games, reproductions officially authorized by the original intellectual property holders. This one is called Starhawk, and it's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. As it says on the back, can you survive the ceaseless attack of freakish alien mutants? As the battle rages on, you'll need nerves of steel and lightning-quick reflexes to survive. Sounds promising, right? But I don't know if it can really move as fast as they say, given it's designed for the original Game Boy. As is this other game that I'm about to pull out, called Metal Masters. And this seems to be more of a strategic combat game, robot versus robot in a battle for ultimate supremacy at a time when machines are worth more than man. Can you defeat the robot army and find the pieces to the super robot before your opponent? Can you? Will you? I don't know. We'll have to do that one another time, but I think for right now I'm a little more inclined to play a shoot-'em-up game, so we're going to go with Starhawk first. The next step would be to check the rest of this box and find out if I got any trading cards or not. I'm pretty sure this order did because it wasn't a cyber clearance sale or a Black Friday. And we do indeed have 2 trading cards along with my cat Tango, who is interested in the proceedings since he heard a bunch of plastic packaging being moved around. Anything that crinkles will get him to think food is involved. Sorry, Tango, there are no snacks here, just some video games and some trading cards. The next step would be to unbox one of these games. And let's do that with Starhawk because, like I said, I'm in the mood for something with side-scrolling shoot-'em-up action, something like Darius Agradius or Gates of Thunder, something that just lets me mow down wave after wave of enemy patterns that come at me. Although I suspect I will not do very well since I don't know those patterns, and memorizing them is usually the key to success at games such as this. But that's for later. For now, we've just got to get through this shrink wrap, which is really tight around the box, which is good because it protects the contents, and it's bad because if you leave it that way in perpetuity, eventually it will shrink even further and crush the box. So those vintage games that people have slabbed behind glass and graded, well, that seal on your game is going to actually make it worth less when the box is completely caved in. So take that into consideration, sealed game collectors. You may be damaging the very thing you're trying to preserve. So I'm going to take this one out of the box, not just because I want to play it, but because I want to keep that box nice for as long as I can. Here's the game itself, which thankfully is more than just the typical boring gray of most Game Boy games. The reprints from Limited Run usually come in nice alternate colors. This one's got a pretty cool aqua blue to it. It's not as blue as the video input behind it that I left on while filming, nor is it as blue as the wireless N64 controller I left on the desk, but it's blue enough. It will stand out amongst all the other boring vanilla gray Game Boy carts. It should be noted that this reprint is of a game that goes for triple-digit numbers complete in box, so you could have gotten the loose cart for less than this reprint, but you certainly couldn't have gotten a complete in-box one for less unless you were incredibly lucky. And it's a very nice quality too. You get the box, the cartridge, and a nice manual with a full color cover, front and back, and all the information about the gameplay that you could possibly need, such as the controls, even though they're very simple on a Game Boy game, at least it bothers to explain them, and all the different power ups that you can collect to make your ship do more damage to those waves of aliens that you must take out. And there's a little blurb promoting limited run games in the back. Well, now we've seen what's on the inside, let's move on to the game itself. So now I've got Starhawk up and running by putting the cartridge in the slot of the Game Boy player, launching Swiss, and then using GBI to access the Game Boy player, which is a fantastic option if you don't have the disc, and it's a pretty good option even if you do, because you can customize things in a lot of ways that you can't with the standard Game Boy player boot up disc, like adjusting the pixel size, making it as large on the screen as you want. And you can see that I've blown it up quite substantially. Not all the way, but I wanted to get a good visual feel for it before I turned up the volume and zoomed it in a little bit. So let me go ahead and cut ahead to that point. In terms of original shooters for Game Boy that come to the top of my mind, it's definitely harder than Solar Striker. Maybe it's on par with Nemesis. Might be a little more or a little less hard. Solar Striker is, of course, ridiculously easy, but I find that one a lot of fun to play, and it really takes advantage of vertical scrolling quite well. Now, this one does take advantage of horizontal scrolling quite well, too. It's very smooth, and it's got multiple layers moving. Both the foreground and the background are moving along with your ship, so it's visually impressive even in these monochromatic colors. So I give this one a big thumbs up in terms of graphical design, sound, gameplay. I think I'm going to enjoy investigating it further once I can memorize those enemy waves. And honestly, even with the price points that I talked about earlier, how you could get it cheaper loose but less complete, just the thrill of opening a complete in-box Game Boy game in 2022, that alone is worth the price of admission. How else are you going to do that except buying reprints through limited run or homebrews through people like QuangDX? You've got only a certain number of options, and some of them are going to require you to fold up the box yourself, print your own manual. Not in this case. You get everything in the bundle in one fell swoop. So, quite frankly, it's worth it. I think it's worth it. And I think Starhawk is probably worth trying in emulation if you've never heard of it before, and then make a decision if you want to pick up a copy that somebody has scalped on eBay. And hopefully you wouldn't have to pay a stupid amount of money for it, but chances are you probably would, which is why, even though you have to wait almost a year to get some of these things from limited run games anymore, it still beats the alternative of having to shell out an arm and a leg when you do want it and you have to pay a scalper price. So it's a difficult trade-off, but it's one I've learned to live with. Anyway, this is Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for tuning in to this bonus show in lieu of a homebrew review, but I couldn't resist opening up limited run games and playing Starhawk a little bit. Hope you're all having a good week, and I'll see you tomorrow for Genesis Does.